welcome back to my channel. But if you are new here and you've never seen my videos before, my name is Kami and I'm a part-time reseller, which means I take and find secondhand clothing at thrift stores, garage sales, estate sales, and all sorts of places, and I list them online and I sell them to make a profit. I sell on 3 different platforms: Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari. And this channel is all about reselling related content. So you're gonna find thrift hauls, you're gonna find kind of informational videos like this one today. And we have all sorts of fun going on over here. So if you are new and you have not subscribed yet, please consider doing so. It would mean the world to me. And that way you'll also be able to see a lot more of the videos that I put out. And if you hit the bell notification, you'll get notified every time I put out a new video. All right, so it is 2024, which is insane. I started reselling in May of 2020 as a part-time reseller. I had been selling for probably 4 or 5 months before that, just on my own personal things, and I didn't really know what a reseller necessarily was. I was just trying to get rid of some of mine and my husband's clothing that we didn't wear anymore. So I started actually reselling and going and finding things to list that weren't my own things, starting in May of 2020. So it has now been about 3.5 years that I have been reselling, and I have learned a lot in that time. Still have way more to learn, but I wanted to mention some of these brands that I used to pick up that I will not be picking up in 2024. They could be brands that I just recently found in the last year, or it could be brands that I found, 3 years ago that I started picking up. And these are brands that at one point in time I did pick up because they were a decent seller, or I heard that they were a decent seller. And in my experience, currently, or within the last, say, 6 months to a year, they are not selling well for me. And we'll talk about a little bit some of these brands more in depth of what doesn't sell well for me, if it's a specific category or things like that. So we'll go ahead and get started with this list. Alrighty, so there are 10 brands on this list that I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to put a picture of the brand up here just in case you've never seen it. Now, my suggestion is do your own research. Maybe pick up a couple of pieces from each brand if you haven't before, and maybe try them out as long as you can get them very cheap and test them out for yourself. What sells well for me doesn't necessarily sell well for others, and vice versa. So this is just what doesn't sell well for me anymore and the brands that I'm not going to be picking up this year. All right, the first brand is Albirds. So this is a merino wool type of shoe. They have lace-up shoes, slip-on shoes, men's and women's. And about a year to 2 years ago, I would pick these up and they sold pretty well for me. However, like I mentioned before, in the last year, this brand has just stopped moving for me at all. I think I have maybe 1 or 2 more pairs that I picked up over a year ago that I'm still trying to sell, and they're just not moving. So reasons why I'm not picking it up is I am sending out offers on these that is barely making me any money, and the Goodwills and the thrift stores in my area tend to mark this brand up because it does retail for a high amount. So being that it doesn't sell well for me and I'd have to pay a pretty penny for it, it's just not something that I'm interested in picking up. Maybe if it was new with tags or maybe really, really cheap, I might pick it up, but honestly, it's just a brand that I am not looking for anymore. All right, the second brand is Beta Brand. Now, this is a women's brand that they make and are known for pants that are business-like. They're kind of business casual, but they're almost like yoga pants. They're very stretchy, they're very comfy, and they're just really great to wear to the office or a more casual but a little bit more upscale event. So I've picked this up probably less than 10 times, but this brand has not ever really sold amazingly well for me. I think that's mostly because the pieces that I've picked up in the past are very small sizes, or they've been hemmed. They're a little bit more customized in that sense, and so it's harder to sell those. Now, I did recently pick up, and by recently I mean in the last 6 months, a pair that was a 2XL, but that is also not moving for me. So I will not be picking this brand up anymore because a lot of times the item is a solid black pair of pants, and that is very hard to photograph and showcase what it's going to look like on. And I think that's also part of it too. But if it were newer tags or something like that, I might consider it, but probably not. All right, this next brand is a brand that I see people talk about, and it's something that other resellers have promoted as something that sells well for them. And like I mentioned, it may sell well for them and not for me. And in this case of this brand, that is very true. So this brand is Vince. So this brand makes, I believe, some more like basic pieces. And by basic, I mean, they're not like crazy colors. They're not crazy designs or materials. They use a lot of nicer materials like merino wool or silk, things like that, but they're very basic capsule wardrobe pieces, men and women clothing. But I have the hardest time trying to sell these items. The ones that I have sold in the past have not sold for very much at all. And I even picked up a New Tags top that was a wool top, and it's been sitting. So this is not a brand that I'm interested in selling anymore. I also have a hard time finding information about the pieces when they're not New Tags, and a basic piece that I don't know much about the style, unfortunately it's just not going to sell well because I'm not able to describe it very well, or photograph it very well. All right, next up is an athletic wear brand, and that brand is Fabletics. So Fabletics used to be a brand that I picked up years ago when I first became a reseller, and it would sell okay. I would try to pick up in more of the bigger sizes, and a mistake I made in the beginning was I would pick it up even if it didn't have the size tag. With Lululemon, you can typically find a size dot if the size pull tab has been removed. Fabletics is not like that. Once the tag's gone, the size is gone too. So in general, I think it's also like retail price is not very high as well. And so you can't necessarily expect something to sell high resale, like secondhand, if it doesn't retail for very much. Now I do have a couple pieces in my closet right now, but they're my own personal pieces that I've pulled from my closet. I'm not like wearing anymore. But in general, when I'm looking to pick things up at thrift stores to resell, Fabletics is absolutely not on my list anymore. All right, this next brand is a brand that retails for a lot of money, and they sell it on the real, but I cannot sell it, and it sells real slow for me. So that brand is Ragen Bone. Now, a lot of what I have found of this brand are jeans. A lot of what I found of the jeans are skinny jeans, and those are a little bit harder to sell right now. But just in general, this brand, clothing that I have found has taken forever to sell. Even when I did send in a couple pieces to a Referral, it either didn't sell and I ended up getting it back, or it sold for very little. So that is definitely a brand that unfortunately I just don't sell very well. It could just be me, but let me know throughout this video if any of these brands are brands that sell well for you, or if you also agree that these brands just aren't worth picking up in 2024. All right, up next is Mountain Hardwear. So Mountain Hardwear is an outdoors brand. I don't know that it retails for a ton. I believe they carry it at like Academy, REI, those sort of places. But it is something that I used to pick up a few years ago, and I've picked up a few pieces really cheap here and there, but it takes forever to sell. Now it will sell $20 to $30 depending upon the piece, but it takes so long to sell, and I just don't like hanging on to pieces for years at a time. After about a year to year and a half, if it hasn't sold at my rock bottom price, I will probably pull it and send it to consignment, or buy, sell, trade. And that's what I've done with this brand before. So unfortunately, this is a brand I'm not picking up anymore. All right, this next brand is a brand that in the last year has been new to me. I have picked it up a lot in the last year, more so in the first part of the year instead of the second part of the year. But this brand is Zaya Active. Now, unfortunately, this is a MLM or a multi-level marketing brand, and I do not support MLMs. I don't purchase from them directly. So all of the pieces that I have found either at a thrift store, the bins, the Goodwill outlet, or consignment store, to where I'm not actively giving money to that company, but I am still getting that product. So that's why I have picked it up in the past, but I would never purchase directly from Zaya or one of their reps. But this brand was relatively new, about a year ago, and a lot of people liked it, and it sold very well for me the beginning of 2023. But about midway through, it just completely dropped off. I literally could not pay someone to take these items from me. And unfortunately, at this point, I have quite a few, probably about 10 items left, maybe even 15. I'm not exactly sure, but I know I have quite a bit left of this brand, and it just does not sell for me. I've seen it sell well for other resellers, you know, more recently, but it's not it for me. All right, this next brand is actually two brands rolled into one. So the main parent brand is Bryant, which is a plus size women's brand. And then the kind of sub brand is Livy Active. That is the activewear line for Bryant. So both of these, I do have items for myself in my own closet, but I have tried to pick these items up, you know, for real cheap, but I have tried to pick them up and resell them, and they do not sell for very much. Unfortunately, this brand is a little bit higher on retail, but that price just does not hold when it comes to secondhand. I have a couple items I think listed from my own personal closet, but this is not a brand that I'm picking up anymore. All right, this brand is a brand that I don't want to call it the bane of my existence, but there's one item in particular that has been my bane of existence by this brand, and it is Spider. So I, years ago, so 2+ years ago, I picked up a children's Spider jacket because I had heard that it sold really well. Spoiler, it doesn't for me, but I paid almost $13 for this jacket. And it's not new or anything. I paid up for it because at the time comps were really good, but about like a month later, it just, yeah, that sort of thing. So I've had this jacket for so long, and I'm actually getting ready to pull it and take it to Once Upon a Child, which I think I'm gonna do a video on, and it'll come out after this video. But I'll let you know if they end up taking it from me. But I have tried to pick up a couple of other Spider items. I do have a couple in my closet currently, and again, can't even pay people to buy this from me. So it is off the list for this year. All right, so the last brand that is on the brands that I am no longer picking up in 2024 is another kind of twofer brand. So one is Assets by Spanx, and the other is Assets by Sarah Blakely. So Sarah Blakely created Spanx, and so these are two lines underneath the Spanx brand. They are the like lines, diffusion lines, if you will, that are sold in like Kohl's, JCPenney's. They just don't retail for very high. When I first started picking up Spanx in general, I thought that they were very similar in retail and resale price, and I quickly found out that is not it. I have a couple pieces left of each and trying to get rid of them as cheap as I can give them away. But this is definitely something that I will still absolutely pick up the main Spanx brand, but not these two diffusion lines because they're just not selling for me. All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like I mentioned, comment down below any brands that weren't on my list that you guys are not picking up in this next year, or if any of these brands do so well for you. That is amazing, and I'm so happy for you, and I would love if you commented that and let me know. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up on your way out, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!